and the P word. It just didn't fit. Okay. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Maybe it's because I'm an old school hip hop head. I love the old school stuff, but I just did not dig that trap music. It was almost, like I said, it was like they were trying to keep it real, but you didn't have to. What made the movie real was the performances and the visuals. You could have easily gotten by on some old school R&B or some old school hip hop. But transitioning from scene to scene, it was almost like I was almost gritting my teeth, hoping I didn't hear what I thought I was going to hear. And then when I heard it, my heart just kind of dropped. But again, that's just, my impression of it. Now, what worked in this movie, very, very tender story about finding oneself. And the dry humor and Courtney B. Vance and Niecy Nash were great. What didn't work for me is that I would have liked to have seen more relationship between Elijah and Tanya. Also, as well as Elijah's sister. It's like she popped in and out of a couple of scenes, and that was it. So I would have liked to have a little bit more of a background story behind some of those individuals. Overall, it's rated TVMA. Not quite sure why. Okay, there was some language in there, and there really wasn't any sex scenes in there, but I guess that's what they gave it. As far as the Aristotle Index, 0. Nothing was an unconvincing possibility. I thought this film really trades true to itself, and it's processed all the way to the end. IMDb gave it a 6.2. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a smoking 91%, and the audience score was only 65. Now, I think a lot of that must have been because people just don't know who Mamadou Athie was. Okay. To me, honestly, if you probably got a more prominent African-American actor, this probably would have got a much higher score with the audience, but because nobody really knows who he is, it got kind of a low score. For me, as well as the Cinema and Cocktails rating goes, I had to give it a strong 4 out of 5 remotes. I mean, this thing comes in at a perfect 104 minutes, not too short, not too long. It does a good job of really focusing on why we chase goals, even if they flow against some of the family expectations. It's about how we chased our dreams, and sometimes it's more about the journey than the dream itself. And while the dialogue is stiff at a few moments, I thought Mamadou Athie's performance was decent, and it wasn't enough to derail what I thought to be a pretty well told story. Definitely a feel good watch. So as soon as I read the synopsis, well, not even read the synopsis, as soon as I just saw it said Uncorked, I kind of knew what I was going to do with this one, but I wasn't quite sure what bottle of wine I wanted. So instead of doing just one bottle of wine, I decided, why not do a flight? Now, for those who are unaware what exactly a flight of wines are, it's simply just, it's kind of like a buffet platter, if you will. It's kind of like it's a series of varietals of different tasting wines. And you have to be careful though when you do these, okay? Because a flight can get you there really, really quick. Number one, most flights are about 4 glasses, and they had about 6 ounces each in them. So if you consume all 4 glasses, that's about 24 ounces of wine, and a bottle of wine is only 25 ounces. So you could actually watch this movie and knock out a whole bottle of wine by yourself. So I would not recommend you doing that alone. I probably would, suggest that you get with somebody, or, the two of you all kind of go in on some whites and some reds, and you kind of pour them in the glasses and you just kind of share them. Now, as far as the wines I would suggest, me personally, I like sweet wines. So for me, I would go for the white wines, Rieslings, or Pinot Grigios. Now from there, you can determine where you want to get your particular wine from. Rieslings, which are pretty much of a sweet wine that a little bit dry, you can get them from Germany, Washington State, Australia, and Italy. Your Pinot Grigios can be found in the United States, Italy, Germany, and New Zealand. Okay, so just depending upon where you want to get your grapes from, that will kind of help decide how sweet or how dry your Pinot Grigio or your Riesling is going to be. Now, the one brand I'm going to put out there for this particular suggestion, I will say for the reds, because I like sweet reds, man, go with the Athie. Oh, if you haven't had the Athie, you're missing out. Okay, it's one of the best sweet red wines that's out there on the market today. As far as the other wine you want to go with, maybe you might want to try a Pinot Noir. Those can be found in California and Oregon, or possibly a more full-bodied Cabernet Sauvignon, which you can find in Australia, the Napa Valley, South America, the Bordeaux region of France, Tuscany, and Sonoma County. So, hey, man, sit back, relax, enjoy the wine. And then, while you're drinking it, maybe you could practice trying to be a sommelier. Can you identify the hints, the tastes, the notes as you are watching the movie? If not, just try it. I mean, because that's what life's all about, right? Just trying something new. And, that's what made this movie so great. Watching Elijah trying to figure it out and just enjoying the journey. A lonely man is confronted by a figure from the past, bringing news that sends him on an eventful and ultimately life-altering journey of discovery. Yeah. That's pretty much what this movie is all about, all right? That's pretty much what it is. But the question is, who is the lonely man? And who is the figure from the past that sends him on this life-altering journey? Well, let's find out. Wendell Pierce plays Dylan, and Wendell has a very impressive 107 acting credits to his name. He has been on a lot of TV shows, but he has also popped in some major motion pictures. He was in a great independent film called A Rage in Harlem, which has a truckload of young black actors in it. He was also in Malcolm X. Now, who knew that it was him and Giancarlo Esposito, for those who don't know, Gus Fring from Breaking Bad. Who knew that they were going to be the ones yelling, "Get your hand out my pocket," as Malcolm X was unmercilessly gunned down? I mean, how do you navigate that, right? You're a young actor in Hollywood, and then you finally, get a role, and you go home and tell everybody, yeah, I'm in a movie where I helped kill Malcolm X. Huh? Well, but I guess somebody's got to do it, right? Oh, man. He was in Waiting to Exhale as Michael Davenport. Who's Michael Davenport? Remember, he was the chubby dude that was trying to get with Layla Rashawn and then did like little dance and spin move and then finally got her. Well, you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, you know what I'm talking about. He was in Get on the Bus. He was in Selma. Another role where he had to play just a tough guy, man. He was playing Clarence Thomas in the Confirmation movie. Oh, man, opposite Kerry Washington, who played Anita Hill. Oh, man, just, another role. Again, I got a great role. Who are you? Clarence Thomas. Really? Wow. He is killing it right now in the TV series on Amazon, Jack Ryan, opposite of Jim from The Office. Go figure. But what I really can't wait to see him in is when he's going to be playing apparently B.B. King in this biopic called The Thrill Is On. Not The Thrill Is Gone, but The Thrill Is On. He was also in Jurnee, but hey, let's be honest. Wendell Pierce will forever be known as Detective William Bunk Moreland from The Wire. That's all I gotta say. After everything I just said, you probably still don't know who I'm talking about. But as soon as I say Bunk, oh yeah, from The Wire, him and McNulty. Yeah, that guy, Bunk. That's who is starring in this movie. Now, opposite of him is a young lady named Jurnee Smollett. Okay, she's had about 40 credits to her name. Very young when she got into the acting game. She was like born in like 86, but by 92 she was already acting in a television series called Hanging with Mr. Cooper. And from there, she went on to be in a couple of episodes of Full House. Now, I saw Hanging Mr. Cooper. I ain't watched Full House, so I'll just leave it at that. Who knew that she was a little girl in Eve's bio? She was, Eve Batiste. Didn't know. Another, promising black film that had a truckload of black actors. She was also in the Cosby reboot called Cosby. I don't think anybody watched that. She was in The Great Debaters. She made an appearance on Friday Night Lights. She was in True Blood. She played the wife of Sugar Ray Leonard as Juanita Leonard in the boxing film Hands of Stone. She gave it a shot with the superhero movies as she was in Birds of Prey, that whole Harley Quinn thing. She played Dinah Lance, the Black Canary. And now she's continuing her craft on Lovecraft. The last actress in this movie who kind of had like a semi-prominent role was Joanne Froggatt. Okay, and she is a international actor with about 47 credits to her name. She comes from England. Most of her stuff is on television and overseas, so I don't really know much of it. I know she was in a movie called Filth. She's been in Downton Abbey. She was in A Crooked Somebody, and she also played a serial killer in some television show called Dark Angel as Mary Ann Cotton. So, you know, hey, all of these actors are experienced and well skilled at what they do. Now, the people they played. Dylan, I thought, had a wonderful arc. Okay, he begins his story as this quiet guy enjoying his quiet life, no need to disturb anything. But then it's almost as if he kind of decides to complicate things when he goes looking for his ex-wife, but then learns that he has a daughter, and then afterwards decides to go look for her. Thus begins a journey that takes him from isolation and being alone to creating something that's potentially full of life and potentially everlasting. Like, he doesn't know what's going to happen, but he embarks upon this, obviously with the hope of connecting with somebody. Lucy, I thought, had the most bend in her character's arc, as she goes from somebody who basically had not had anybody in her life to someone who's now trying to be accepting of a stranger who could potentially be her father. She is a very strong, independent woman who answers to no one, but has a few demons of her own that she's dealing with. Now, as the film goes on, she does learn to make changes in her life with the support of Dylan, but, you know, without giving away too much, I'll just say her transformation is a pleasant one. Now, Jamie's character arc is very flat, and that's for a reason. She doesn't go through much, as she is a support system for Dylan. Her easygoing ways make her a security blanket for Dylan, as he constantly finds himself having to make serious decisions throughout the film. She supports all that he does without judgment and respects him, not just only as her employer, but also as a friend. The dialogue, I thought, in this movie was wonderful. Very, very succinct and tightly written. All right, there's no room for interpretation, no underlying meaning or hidden messages in the subtext. The conversation seems very, very real. They all seem to be easily relatable. It was like, you know, you're watching a movie and there were moments when I was watching it where I could legitimately see myself having a similar conversation if I was in a similar position as Dylan. Okay, and more importantly, I thought the truth from which Lucy spoke, I also thought rang, you know, pretty honestly. And now, as far as the conflicts in this movie go, there's a few. Okay, there's a few. I thought the first of which was Dylan versus himself. He had to really overcome a lot of his own fears about how to approach and how to handle this situation with reconnecting with his daughter. Okay, and it's kind of hard to imagine what it must have been like. I mean, to overcome his own loneliness and coming out of his own perfect lifestyle, and then realizing that, you know, I'm going to try to do something that's going to involve changing my own life and potentially fitting someone else new to it. So I think that's the first thing he had to overcome. The other one was Lucy versus Dylan. I mean, I know this is kind of hard to rate it as an actual conflict, but it's got to be tough for anybody who has been adopted to reunite with a parent, or a parent who is reuniting with a lost child after many, many years. I mean, you talk about awkward. Like, what do you talk about in that first conversation? So I really don't know I really wouldn't call it a conflict. I'll just say it was a difficult situation. Lucy versus nature. Lucy is dealing with some ailments due to the circumstances that are outside of control, and I'll just leave it at that. This movie was definitely a journey or a golden fleece or a quest type of movie. As Dylan goes in search for his daughter, he discovers that he has a lot more to give in his life than just, you know, fillings and golf shots. He happens to be a golfer, a dentist who likes to play golf. So as he's going through this, he begins to realize he's got a lot more to give than just being a dentist. And as he makes this journey, each hurdle he jumps kind of really changes his perspective and intensifies his resolve as he's trying to, you know, be able to connect with this woman who he hasn't seen in almost 25 years. It reveals the beauty of his character, and it makes him easy to root for and empathize with. You know, his travels definitely reveal the kind of man that he is, which makes him such an endearing and wonderful character. Now, thematically, I thought that the film really focuses on sacrifice. It's all about what are we willing to give up to make others around us happy, and how those relationships can potentially grow into lifelong experiences. Friendships are really about who supports, who guides, who trusts and protects, and who loves. And this film really focuses on